we know, and we talked about it yesterday, Tom, where the quarterback's going to be. And if you're stopping the run and getting into second and obvious, third and obvious, now all of the exotics and the interesting pressure packages that Tony White wants to employ to get after the passer become a thing. Unfortunately, he's forced to do that more than he wants to do that anyhow, because we really don't have anybody off the edges that can get to the passer. So he's got to bring people. He's got to bring twists and stunts and run games and do all that stuff. But he likes doing that anyhow. So, okay, now he's kind of forced to do it because I don't think they have anybody that is going to dominate these two tackles for Miami. I don't see a player off the edge that's going to do that.
This is something, it's Tony White versus Carson Beck, because confusion is also going to be of paramount importance down the field coverage-wise. If Beck understands what we are running, be it man, be it zone, snap the ball, and he likes to crow hop a little bit, rhythm crow hop, ball is out, it's in the place it needs to be. But if there's confusion and he has to hesitate even a millisecond, his eyes will drop, he will panic, and then hopefully somebody is there to collect the trash. If they're not, then he can recompose himself, throw the ball, and you're still in trouble. But I think, it's twofold. It has to be about confusing the offensive line, but then the coverages have to be confusing as well. It doesn't matter zone or man. Just watching back to what Marcus Freeman was throwing at Carson Beck in the first half, early second half of that game. It's holes in zones. It's spots against man. He was comfortable against both of those things. So this is one where you say, all right, Tony, you have a reputation for doing certain things. This has to be one of those days in which his reputation rises to the surface. If it does, then you might get those stops that you need. But it could turn into a slugfest, a shootout. It could be something that's ugly and low scoring. Honestly, I could see this game playing out any number of ways. And I don't think the weather's going to be that much of a concern to muddy the track or do anything like that either.
You know what I think is interesting? In a game that could very well and may define the season for Florida State, may define the season for Miami, could define the season for the ACC. I mean, the game of this magnitude, to have the various scenarios that you just laid out, could be a shootout, could be a low-scoring 17-14 type game in the fourth quarter, could be a lot of different scenarios that you could lay out. And not like, I get it, somebody's listening to this saying, hey, yeah, great, guys. Could be a lot of different ways the game is played. Got it. Yeah, no, not every game sets up that way. Not every game sets up that way. Certain games, you know exactly how they have to play out and the way they will play out based on personnel, based on team weaknesses or strength. This one's a little different because there's a chance that Miami is just too physical for Florida State, and they dominate the lines of scrimmage, and it becomes really elementary. You're going to get beat. You're just not good enough, strong enough, deep enough, talented enough, and you're going to lose convincingly. Or you do stop the run. You do slow Miami down. They do have to come out of what they want to do. And now this game gets very interesting because at that point, and I think that's the first thing I would look at that point, by the way, we did that with Alabama. Now you got to go back and remember that opening drive felt somewhat ominous, even though it took Alabama forever and they still cashed it in. And I worried that wasn't going to get better throughout the course of the day, that they would continue to lean on Florida State. But Florida State rectified the situation and ended up being more physical than Alabama. They did slow down the running game, and they forced Ty Simpson to try to beat him. He wasn't up to the task in his first ever big-time road start, first ever big-time start, period. That was good. Florida State got them out of what they wanted to do. Can they get Miami out of what they want to do? Because what I really want to see is the second part of the equation, and that is, does this offense, who's moved the ball against everybody, including Alabama, obviously, and two powder puff opponents and one Virginia team that's not great on defense, does this offense continue to play at such a high level that they could turn it into a shootout? That they could, like you're saying, Tom, let's say it doesn't go as well as we'd like defensively. Are you able to keep pace? Is that Miami defense exposed in a way that they have yet to be? Notre Dame's offense couldn't expose them. Obviously, Florida's offense wasn't going to expose them. So could Florida State be the one that maybe opens a lot of eyes throughout college football, including Miami fans' eyes, where they say, "Oh, whoa! I thought we were much better on defense. The Gus bus is rolling here. This is a problem for us." Yeah, that's kind of a unique set of circumstances where you don't know what you're going to get. I'm worried about it because I think that the lines of scrimmage do favor Miami. And anytime I go into a game thinking that the other team has the better line of scrimmage, then I'm worried. But, I have to say, I learned my lesson. I think we all did with Alabama. I don't know it. I think they might be, but I don't know it. So let's wait and see.
The stuff that happened for Notre Dame to amass the comeback included coverage busts, included offenses getting in rhythm, Notre Dame's offense getting in rhythm. And you could see it from like a play-to-play standpoint that Miami's defensive coordinator looked to be chasing rather than asserting what was happening in the game. Picks the zone, it's the wrong call. Picks man coverage, it's the wrong call. And the quarterback is gaining confidence and more confidence. And he's just looking down the field. Boom, something's open. Boom, something's open. There are a couple of throws against man coverage, back shoulder throws that Notre Dame hit in that game because it looked like Miami's secondary was just a little bit slow. You got to get past their front four, but it does look like there are some vulnerabilities there. And then the thing that killed them, that I'm sure their fans would say, if they're hate watching us, welcome. Quarterback run also killed them in many key circumstances. And that quarterback can't run like Tommy, but it's effective enough. They'd add another guy to lead the way, usually on a designed quarterback draw, something like that. But they'd add another blocker as a lead escort. And they ran that 3 or 4 times, either for touchdowns or big first down chain mover type things. And it looked pretty simple each and every time. Now, you could say that's the first game of the season, so they get to review the film and see the error of their ways. But those were designed quarterback runs that didn't have a read-give option on it at all.
Yeah,
so
it was straight quarterback run, right?
Quarterback design run. So it's something, think more like what Clemson runs once or twice a game in the red zone, no matter the year. That's something that they've always done. That's what Notre Dame was able to use to be successful on the ground. And then basic zone stuff inside between the tackles where the back has to be alert on the cutback. To me, that screams Gavin Sawchuk. If you're looking for somebody who has vision, timing, and alertness to be ready for a cutback lane, I don't know that that's really what you want Chroma to do this early in his career. We'll see. But I think that there's some stuff there for Florida State offensively to be able to exploit. Because, again, I'm looking at what Miami has gone through here and what they've played so far. Yesterday in the chat, people immediately said, what, Notre Dame's offense isn't good? Notre Dame's offense in the first half of the first game of the season did not resemble anything close to what its offense did from the point that it was 21-7 Miami in that game in the third quarter, and then what Notre Dame's offense has done subsequent week over week, because it was a ton of new personnel. So I think that there might be some things here for Florida State offensively to do successfully to exploit what's going on. But I'm also looking at Beck and I'm thinking, man, I don't know. If he knows what he's seeing, then he could be moving the ball up and down the field. As I'm speaking on this, I'm taking the total in my brain for the game, and it's going up, up, and up. I think this thing could be a game in the upper 20s or mid-30s by the time it's all said and done.
So you early in the week are leaning towards a shootout for Florida State to have to win. You think that they got to score in the 30s to win the game?
I muted myself. I think it's upper 20s, lower 30s, depending upon how much ball control Miami wants to play, depending upon, like, if Miami gets in a lot of 3rd and 4s and 3rd and 3s, and they decide to just play bully ball, let's say that happens 6 times in the game, and maybe 3 of those times they need to go to 4th down and pick up another first down. Well, you're talking about an extra 3 or 4 minutes off the clock for the entirety of the game in that situation, so that takes the total down a little bit. I don't think this is going to follow the form of the Florida-Miami game, in which
I don't either.
It's offensively challenged. I don't think it's going to follow the form of the Notre Dame-Miami game, which was 14-7 at the break because there's an absurd catch just before the half that Miami scores. I think at the break, this thing's more likely to be 20-14, 17-17 than it is to be, 10-7 or 13-7.
For the record, for those of you wondering, that is 54.5. Just pulled up the number right now as we do this. 54.5. The Canes are favored by 4.5. Be interested to see where that goes. If that moves at all throughout the week, or are we settled in on 54.5 and 4.5? I'm sure weather updates will help impact that as well. And then we'll see where the sharps come in on this game. It's interesting. We kind of theorized And I saw some of this last night out there in Caneland. You monitor the enemy the week of the game, and they were none too pleased on the one hand that Florida State lost to Virginia. And on the other hand, of course, they reveled, as we all do, when our rivals lose a game. They enjoyed that Florida State fell on their face and they could tease them. That's fine. But, the Miami's not Virginia, and they'd be happy to say they're not Virginia. And they're a better team than Virginia, but they are different than Virginia. And Florida State may have been alerted to some of their weaknesses in a way that they weren't exposed to in either the Alabama game or any of the other two against a weaker opponent. And now maybe you have the opportunity to fix something, but more importantly, you have the opportunity to come off of a loss for a rivalry game in which you are already angry and intense. Focus will not be a problem. The frustration of the season's first loss, elements of your defense getting exposed, especially defensive football and defensive-minded football. Pride is a big thing because you're getting pushed around some. And now you know that Miami wants to come in and bully you. It's going to be an easy talking point for Tony White. I mean, easy to challenge one's manhood after that Virginia game and talk about what Miami could do to you if you play that soft again. And so maybe you get the angriest of the angriest on the field Saturday night, which was already going to be intense because of the rivalry.
Hey, I'm looking at that Notre Dame game because, again, that's the best test, especially the second half. You could see the teams are now both firing on all cylinders for what they want to be. There are so many plays for Miami when their offense is on the field that look exactly like what Virginia did through contact last week. I'm talking about plays that seem to be bottled up and the Miami running back powers through for an extra 18 inches or an extra 2 yards. It's 3rd and 6, and there's a screen pass to the left side or a swing pass to the left side. The safety rallies. It's good contact, but the player fires up and is able to break the tackle, get a first down. It's 3rd and 2. They're calling a run right up the middle. It looks like it's stuffed initially, but then the line surges for an extra 2 or 3 yards. It's all of those things that Virginia did last Friday, Miami did to Notre Dame over and over and over again to put them in either better down and distance situations or to just outright get the first down. So it is a carbon copy. That's the thing I would say. When you're looking at last week's Virginia film, if you're Tony White, and they've already done that, their corrections, everything, then they put on the Miami film from the Notre Dame game. He's going to show those guys and say, you want this to happen to you again? Because this is what they do. This is exactly what they do. You could not have actually a better low-light film to go over before the Miami game than the one against Virginia. I don't want to lose that game. Nobody want to lose that game. But the exact same thing will happen to Florida State's defense again if they don't play with a little bit more tenacity this Saturday.
Well, it's not like they don't know who Mark Fletcher is. I mean, this is a monster of a running back. I mean, this is a 230-pound running back, 6'2", 230, 225, whatever they list him as. That's a grown-ass man. You better bring it. I mean, and listen, that's not one of those deceptively strong little bowling ball 5'9" running backs like you just got run over by a couple of times the other night. This is a in-your-face 6'2", 230-pound running back that is not afraid.
Well, and also Shamar Brown, who was the transfer from the Dakotas. Now,
North Dakota State.
Yeah, he's the same thing. And again, they went to him on the key drive, 21-all, fourth quarter.
Yes, they did.
Number 6 is on the field in those moments. And here's the important thing. You want to know how important Shamar Brown is to Miami? All right. Against Bethune-Cookman and USF, he had 16 total carries. Against Notre Dame, Brown had 15. Against Florida, he had 18. When they need it, when they need physicality, they call on that kid just as much as they call on Fletcher, and he looks the same as Jamari Brown. It's the same thing. And then, of course, Fletcher has a little bit more get up and go on top of the fact that he's physical. Yeah, man, we all know that you got to play physically in a Miami-Florida State game, and that's why last year for Florida State when we went down to Miami, it was such a disgrace to see that we were disrespecting the rivalry by going through the motions and not playing with physicality. That's why we loved Earl Little's effort down there in Miami because it looked different from his compatriots. But I mean, it will be a carbon copy of the Virginia experience in terms of hidden yards or post contact yards if they don't do a much better job of getting guys to the ground. And I was talking last night on the Smash with Ira, and he had the Henshaw piece that's going out on the site today. And he said when Henshaw was in the NFL, his number one concern coming off of a bye week or a light part of the schedule was tackling. And I wonder if maybe that's something that rears its head. I know Florida State played the week before, but you're not playing real competition. Those guys are going to go to the ground easy. Maybe it's a function of that and the weirdness of the schedule. And maybe that's something that Miami sees on the other sideline when their defense is on the field, that they have a little bit of a hard time tackling because they've been on a break. But it's got to look much more like Alabama than last week did.
Well, the worry, and I think if you're a Miami fan, you probably feel pretty good about not having that happen because you played two very physical teams. Florida is extremely physical, and so is Notre Dame. Freeman's done a great job of building that into their culture now, and Notre Dame is very physical. So I think they've got that under their belt. I'm glad we now do two with two real games under our belt. Unfortunately, 1-1 in those two real games, and probably not the order we thought it would go. But either way, it is what it is, and you've got to move on now. And yeah, lesson learned. I mean, that's tough tape to watch when you're a defender. You never want to have a guy move you and move the pile repeatedly. You never want to see contact be made at the 32 and the guy goes to the ground at the 36. I mean, you're getting punked. And it's tough to watch because defense, it's an awful lot about want to now. An awful lot about want to. And to me, yeah, sometimes guys are just physically ill. I mean, look, nobody gets mad at a defender if they're trying to tackle Derrick Henry one-on-one and they end up back 3 yards. Derrick Henry is a Goliath. He's a monster. What are you going to do? It happens sometimes. But that's not who that Virginia running back is. He's a good player. He's a nice player. He does a lot of good things for them. I'm not disparaging him. He ain't Derrick Henry. Let's get a guy to the ground. Come on now. Let's get a guy to the ground, play with leverage, and play with a little what for. That shouldn't be, and I don't think it will be a problem. What I worry about, Tom, is, again, you may not have the personnel. You might not. It's weird to have to say this, but I just think it's so important that Kevin Wynn play meaningful snaps in this game. I think he's a dude from what we've been told by the coaches. The coaches have been pretty spot on with the way that they assessed players in both the spring and fall camp. We were not able to go to those practices, so we were really reliant on the coaches giving us, in essence, a scouting report. I'm always suspicious of coaches in the way that they describe players in practices because, I mean, what motivation do they have to tell us the truth? And yet they've been pretty spot on. Well, between the players and the coaches, Kevin Wynn name has come up a ton as a dude, as a guy that really impressed them. So if that's so, you get a guy back this week that could not come back at a better time than right now because, goodness gracious, you need his size and his strength in the interior because there are going to be moments where 3rd and 3 is the reality and Miami's not throwing. They're lining up to give the ball to their two very physical backs behind a very physical offensive line, and they're trying to set the tone. And against Alabama, you answered those calls. Will you now answer those calls? Because you didn't against Virginia. You looked a little light.
This is where it does get fun and you get amped up for this game because a lot of years in the Miami game, for probably too many if you're a purist of the game of college football and you like good rivalries, it wasn't about you must summon the best you have in order to beat this in-state rival. And some years it was that for Florida State, but you knew that you were going to lose. And so from the other side of it, Miami was saying, well, as long as you don't screw it up, you're going to win. I mean, there's just been too much of that before these games in the last 20 years in which you thought, as long as you don't screw it up, you're going to be in a fantastic position to beat your in-state rival. I think this is a night where both fan bases are looking at their defenses and say, I need you to play the best you can play, or else we're going to be in some trouble here. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it was when I was a kid. That's the way it was for forever for you when you're watching this rivalry and you're saying, how do we find a way to win this football game? Miami's offense, while at receiver is lacking a little bit, it has a quarterback who knows where to go with the football. Miami's offensive line, really, really good. Those running backs are not going to bail you out, just like Jamari Brown did not bail you out. So you've got to summon the Alabama level, maybe a little bit more than the Alabama level when it comes to physicality to be able to win here. And then for Miami defensively, they're looking at quarterback run that's hurt them in a lot of circumstances. And they say, well, this guy's a blur. And those other guys we faced weren't that fast, but it was quarterback run and it killed us. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, I think we're living this game in the 20s or low 30s.
Yeah, the chess match begins, and you really get excited about what's deployed. I want to see what Gus deploys here. Is it a bunch of Tommy? Is it a bunch of Tommy? Is this to put your arm around the shoulders and say, hey, man, this is why we brought you in. This is that game. You were that dude against Alabama. I need you to be that dude again. Not that you didn't play well or pretty well against Virginia, but this is one of those games now where the decisive factor for us on offense is going to be your legs.
I will tell you, I have a theory. They needed that backside throw on third down that didn't do diddly because we missed the throw in overtime. That's a Miami play. And watching what Miami's done so far defensively, backside against the grain, that type of stuff, against over pursuit and over exuberance, I think that's going to be in the game plan this week, going against the flow, the natural flow.
Well,
I'll bet you that play was probably first drive of the game or second drive of the game for Miami.
Yeah, it sucks he had to use it, and we botched it.
Yeah, and we botched it anyway. So what good does it do you now?
Yeah, you botched it, and you put it on film. Chef Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. I think that Ben Johnson could benefit from this current ad read. I got to tell you about my friends at Cornbread. It's an easy sell for Ben Johnson and coaches in general for these halftime interviews. Calm down, fellas. Settle down. I know you're stressed. You don't take it out on sideline reporters. Get a grip. If you've tried everything under the sun to try to find peace of mind, then it's time for you to try perhaps Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. If the other stuff's not working for you, I think this will. It's a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort. It's formulated to work with your body, not against it. CBD gummies are made to help you feel better. All products, third-party tested, lab tested, USDA organic to ensure safety and purity. That's a good thing. Right now, Jeff Cameron Show listeners, you can save 30% on your first order. 30% is a lot of savings, if I do say so myself. Head to cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Use code warchant at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/warchant. Remember to use the code warchant to save 30% off Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. This is what I mean. Ben Johnson was coming off the field at halftime. The Bears trailed 14-9. He was asked by CBS sideline reporter Aditi, I can't say her last name. I always feel bad about that. Kinkawabala. It's a crazy last name, and I don't mean that meanly. It's a crazy last name. About his message to players after Chicago scored just 6 points off 3 turnovers in the first half. He was pissed. Johnson said he told his team that it wasn't our brand of football. We're capable of a lot more. We're hitting the reset button here at halftime, and we're going to come out and establish our identity here in the second half. She followed it up and said, do you need to change what you're doing? Asked the question, do you need to change what you're doing? The coach got pissed at that and said, I don't know. Do you think so? We're going to be fine, and stormed off. And later on, as in yesterday, he apologized because he realized that didn't come across well. He says that he didn't hear the question. He thought she was implying that they needed to change. He says he only heard her say, you need to change something. Now, can you imagine? That'd be funny if a reporter did that. It's certainly not what you should do, but that would be hilarious. Coach, this game plan's been awful. You've got to do better. Can you imagine? No, he realized later when he had a chance to go back and look at it that she wasn't saying that. She was asking a question about what needs to change, or do you need to change something? So he apologized and said, I'll do better with these things in the future. All these coaches need to do better with these things in the future. I see one a week 1 a week in college, 1 a week in the NFL, in which a coach is perturbed. I get it. You don't want to do the interview. Maybe in a perfect world, you wouldn't have to do the interview. But you know you're going to do the interview. You know it's part of the game now. You know it's part of the coverage. It always really, for any modern coach, has been. And you don't have to like it, but it is a representation of you and the way people think about you and perhaps your team. So, look, man, get it together. Get it together. You can yell at everybody once you get in the locker room. Just keep cool. It's not hard. Every one of those questions are softballs. You're never being asked a really difficult question like, why in the hell didn't you go for it there on their 38? Do you realize you punted at their 38, 4th and 1? What are you, dumb? That's not the question.
Yeah, you're
That's
not getting
the
the
question.
You're not getting those Brian Kelly post-game questions, but what's the deal with your running game?
It's just not hard. It's usually a softball question. Coach, I know you're frustrated. You're down 27-0. Coach, obviously frustrating first half. What has to change for you guys in the second half to get back in this game? That's 99% of the questions are something like that when you're trailing by a significant number. If you're winning, it's really easy. But even then, I see coaches get perturbed. It's.
I think I would do the approach. I would take the approach. We've often talked about this. A politician answering the question they'd rather
wish was asked of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And just say, I'm sure that was a great question. Here's what I want y'all to know right now is that we need to do this, and then just have that. Every week, be dismissive of the question. Just say, I'm sure that was a great question, but here's what is important right now as I run into this locker room. We need to do X, Y, and Z. Appreciate you.
Yeah, because it's only 30 seconds. You don't have a lot of time. And
I do you get uncomfortable when the reporter follows up? I do.
Oh, yeah, because that's not what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if the first answer is curt, okay. I'm okay with the follow-up. If it's under 15 words, I understand. But sometimes coaches will give you 30, 40 good seconds, and then you're like, and so what else do you need to see on the other side of the ball?
No,
hey,
yeah.
You know, NFL halftime is almost over? This isn't college. NFL halftime is like, I'm done. We're done here. Like, please stop.
Well, we do this for a living. And when you're producing one of my interviews with coaches, and certainly I know, there's body language, there are certain code words, there are moments in the interview when you realize they're done. They're done. And you know it instantly. Once you do this for a living, it doesn't take much. You figure it out pretty damn quickly when the moment they're done. They'll keep going because they know they've given you 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but I know the moment that they're done. Nobody's more obvious than Gus Malzahn. but I mean, Jimbo used to do it. Mike has done it when I've interviewed him.
Yeah.
Hitting coach Link has done it. You know when they're done.
Well, this is where we've gone too far with the TV industry. You could say a lot of things have gone too far in the TV industry, but the pregame interview before the ball kicks off, stupid. The between the third and fourth quarter interview, which is usually for the other coach, and they'll do first and second quarter, but they alternate between those two. So it's coming. Also terribly stupid. I get that quarter breaks are 3.5, 4.5 minutes, and that is absurd, and that pisses me off. Those are critical minutes. What are we doing? The halftime, I think, is fair. And maybe even the pregame, I'll give you just a little bit. It's fair. But these between the quarter interviews are absurd, and that's an unfair ask. Those coaches might have something very important to say and not enough time to get around from the offensive huddle to the defensive huddle to a position group to a quarterback. It's absurd.
I feel like the old interviews pregame done down in the locker room, or even like the stuff they would do for game day for their game of the week. We go to Michelle Wilson, and she's at the team hotel with Nick Saban, and you'll see him outside the ballroom, and she's interviewing or something like that. That's fine. That's well before the game kicks off. You don't need to be interviewing a head coach 30 seconds before they're going to kick the ball off. My man is not in that place. I give a lot of leeway here, but I think the halftime interview is the easiest interview in the world. Don't botch that, people. That's just the easiest thing in the world. One good answer, and you're in the tunnel. Well, it's over.
And the last thing, I know Tommy Block could attest to this. They pick whichever coach is more compelling. It's not always about who's winning going into the break, because let's say, for example, there's a massive upset brewing and you're on NBC and it's Notre Dame. You're still getting Marcus Freeman. Or there's a massive upset brewing, it's out of conference and it's SEC. You're still going to get the SEC head coach. Well, the radio interviewer goes, Stop asking questions. That's 3. That's 2 questions.
Yeah,
That's
now
3.
I'm screwed.
Because I still need him before we go into the locker room.
Yeah.
Don't abuse that, because now the poor radio person's going to be like, yeah, we thought so. And then the coach keeps going. You're like, we thought so what? Doesn't matter. Got to go talk.
Peace.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, I used to. So speaking of Tom Block, he'll smile if he's listening to this. For years and years and years with all the coaches, of course, Tom would host the coaches show, and on Sunday they'd go in and record, and I would talk to the coach on Sundays, and I was always after they were done with television, and so we developed a really good rapport with the texting. Oh, what kind of mood? What do we got here? You know, what am I walking into? I would get the in a great mood. We'll talk all day. Seems to be happy with where they're at. And then I would get the, ooh, good luck. Ooh, good luck. Not in a good mood. Not in a mood to talk. You're going to have some problems. I'm like, okay. All right. And you can always get the, I begin every one of these with, hey, coach, how you doing? If you get the, hey, Jeff, how are you, man? Everything all right? Yeah, good. Everything's good. Film review? Yeah, it was good. Good stuff there. All right, well, let me get the interview started. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. If you get the, hey, coach, hey.
Yep.
How you doing, coach? Fine. All right, let me get you out of here. Good. 3, 2, 1.
There were a couple of times that I really enjoyed those, because he'd start mid-thought, which was not uncommon for Jimbo. No. But he'd be like, hey, good evening, coach. There he goes, you know something that's a crock of beep? And it's like, oh, he's got some things he wants to say. Remember that in the third quarter? Remember that we had 3rd and 6 in the third quarter? Yeah. Well, get a load of this. I was told, and you're like, here we
go. Yeah.
He wants other people to know how he feels about certain things. Yeah.
Well, messaging can be done. That's the other part about this business, is you watch the key figures on a coaching staff, and they can get their message out with whom they talk to, which reporter, which talk show host, which whatever. They know that they're lending context, and sometimes they'll want a message out there. They don't want it to be known that it's directly from them, but they'll give you the backdrop for you to use however you see fit within your story, however you see fit within your talking points. That knowledge is invaluable. I mean, knowing that this particular official has a penchant to call holding whenever it's borderline is valuable information. I found out that Steve is doing the game Saturday. God, get ready for 15 holds, and you're like, okay, that's something my audience might want to know,
Who was the crew? Was it Ron Winter? I'm trying to think of the NFL crew that if you got him, you're like, oh God, this is the holding crew. Even though he's the head official, he's not the umpire who's going to be throwing 90% of the flags.
Right.
You just knew when that guy was the official. You're like, oh, I know that every in the ACC history, we all talk about Ron Cherry and Flanagan, but there was a guy in the NFL that it was an old man with glasses, and it was this is. Anytime there's an explosive play, just hold your enthusiasm, because I'm sure you're going to be showing this 68-year-old man going, holding 64 offense.
Yeah, I remember my stepdad when I was a little kid. We would watch football together, and every single holding call, and it took me a long time to figure this out by watching replays, he believes every holding call is fictitious. He does not believe there's such thing as holding. And you could call it on every play. I mean, if you want to, you can call holding on every single play. Why? I'll tell you why. And, all this inserting themselves into the game stuff, and he gets furious, right? And then, so I forever, when I was little, believed that. And then I would watch a replay of a guy holding the bejesus out of a defender and dragging him to the ground. And I'd go, Bob, that's holding, man. You can't do that. Oh, you can call it every play if you want to.
They let it go on Friday night. We got called for the block in the back, which is I think that's unfortunate positioning, but it looks awful, and so therefore you're going to get
it looked bad. Yeah.
And then I think the retort was the Shaheem Brown hold when he's trying to catch the block, but to funnel the quarterback back, and he scores a touchdown, but they take it off the board.
Right.
I think that was it. And then they let it kind of go from there, which I don't think benefited us very much. It would be if we have an overactive holding umpire this week, I think that would net benefit us. And as I say that, here's your trigger warning. Here he is. Once you see this guy from the NFL, you'll remember.
Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, yeah, there he is.
Always with the holdings. That freaking guy. Always.
He's gone now, though, right? He's long gone.
I don't know. He might not be with us. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't mean dead. I mean, normally I'm telling you about the guys that are dead. Yeah, like, oh, Tom, he died in a car accident last year. Oh. And then you're like, damn it, man.
This is how much he has burned into my brain. He last officiated a game in 2013. And
oh, wow.
Yeah.
He probably is dead.
He could be.
We'll come back, wrap it up momentarily. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.